Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex, and then in episode number 169, I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn. It was a lame open.
I didn't claim I had a good one.
I'm so used to splashy opens.
Gotta keep you on your toes, Glenn.
Yeah, it's like fan service or something like that. Landed at episode 169 for fan service. I don't know. Fans are.
I don't remember what I did last time.
Fan-tastic.
For a fan show. That's the episode title. Wait, that's not what we did last time, was it?
Probably.
Fantastic.
How are you guys?
Good.
I'm fantastic.
It was a better open. But...
Well, hey, you come up with it every week.
You feel my pain.
We've already been through this. I'm the editor.
It's kind of like feedback
I can
music.
do some editing.
I'm the editor.
What do you mean you're not going to do the feedback song anymore?
Yeah, but they'd have to wait till you got up at like noon, and then you wouldn't get it done before you had to go to work. So.
I'd probably get up early for that.
How would you?
Yeah,
No.
I did.
It's yours. I'll ship it to you tonight.
Well, the week you were gone, I got up early, but it took longer to edit than I had planned.
Yeah, see.
No, I ran into
But you actually did some editing.
What time do you have to be at work?
12:30.
He'd get up at noon.
Yeah.
And go, I'll
that's
slap
like-
this together before I leave for work while I have my toast.
That's when I get up now. What are you
That's
talking
what
about?
I do. So
You have the benefit of getting up early to take the kids to school.
that's true. And I usually
Except
do
for all
it.
last week.
Yeah, it was off last week.
How was your week off, Glenn?
It was nice. Very good. Yeah, I had vacation.
No, I'm
Sorry.
not throwing things.
Throwing
I had
things.
vacation. Monday was the first day of my vacation. We didn't do much. The kids and I kind of hung out at the house, played Minecraft. Didn't do too much. It was the first day vacation. Got to wind down. Tuesday we did just some like housework and stuff. One day this week, I think it was Wednesday, we went to the Kansas Children's Discovery Center.
Oh, yeah, I saw those pictures.
For anybody that doesn't know what it is, it's one of these hands-on activity things for kids that have different various stations, and basically they can play with things that are that engage their creativity and learning, and they both totally enjoy it. Although they go there and they've got this device in the back of the room that is basically like the workings of a machine, and it has all these beads in it, and so it'll have like these auger system that'll raise the beads up and put them into another area, a pulley system. You pull the beads up, and they go down onto a conveyor belt, and they roll down, and each kid goes to a little hand crank in each station location around this machine, and they just continually do that as these beads make this continual industrial loop, and it looks like the most monotonous thing in the world to me, but they gravitate right to it, and then they're usually there for probably about a third to half of the time that they're in before they move on to other stations.
Wow.
But they got a little workshop where there's actual wood and nails, and I mean it's like real wood shop. You can make little things. Mason made I made a. Mason helped a lot. Police car there, but it was all fun. Kids had fun with that.
Oh, that's cool.
Thursday, I took the kids to see Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
How was that?
It's good. It's cute.
We should do your reviews of the movies you watched the week before.
We'll do that afterwards.
How was Peabody and Sherman?
Peabody and Sherman was a very, very cute film. I think they finally did it right. I think I was talking after the show last week with you guys, or maybe it was in the week before that, how I was nervous about it because they did the Boris and Natasha, I think in the late 90s, and it had Dave Thomas, and I don't even remember the woman that played Natasha. And I was excited when that came out. In fact, I think it went straight to DVD or straight to video. And I was excited for
Sally
that.
Kellerman.
And I was excited for
Took me
that
a minute.
because I'm a huge fan of the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons. Absolutely loved it. And Peabody and Sherman was part of that. And Dudley Do-Right was part of that. And all those. And absolutely loved those cartoons as a kid. And so I was excited for that one. And then it just didn't quite meet my expectations. And then... was it Dudley Do-Right that came out next, or was it Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Was it Dave Thomas, or was it Jason Alexander?
It was Dave Thomas, because Jason Alexander played Boris in Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
which
what I'm thinking
I
of.
think did a better job but still missed the mark for me. It had a lot of the nice nods to the old cartoons, but
it had De Niro doing the Are You Talking to Me, which was,
So it just sort of missed the mark. And then the Brendan Fraser, Dudley Do-Right, oh my gosh.
And George of the Jungle.
Horrible. Yeah, George of the Jungle was another favorite.
Do-Right was 99.
So Rocky and Bullwinkle was later than that.
Probably 2000.
Yeah.
I think they're about the same. Because that was still a blockbuster, I think, when that one came out.
I wanted to say it was like 2003 or something like that when Rocky and Bullwinkle came out.
I could not get Rocky to pull up.
Either way, they all kind of missed the mark for me, so I was really leery about this one. But this one really has the spirit of I think, the short cartoons. When was it?
2000.
So you're right. And Ty Burrell, he does a really, really good. It's not spot on, but it's really good. He has the inflection down there for Mr. Peabody.
He didn't sound like Ty Burrell from the trailers.
No, he really doesn't. He sounds a lot more like... And then the little boy that plays Sherman was really good. And I wondered how they were going to be able to sequence this to make one big epic story. And they do a nice job weaving it together. And we get a little... we get little bounces of them going through time and doing the different things. And all of those wonderful puns that Mr. Peabody always used at the end of each episode, they do that throughout this film. And it's funny because he'll say it, and then Sherman will laugh, and he'll go, I don't get it. Which was pretty much what my kids' sentiment was, too. They didn't get those, but I was chuckling and laughing at it every time. They had a lot of humorous moments that were more geared towards adults, which clearly you've got to kind of do that in a film like this, especially when I'm also their target audience because I'm from that generation that watched it years ago. My only complaint is about 2 or 3 quarters into it it goes this weird direction that I didn't expect, and sometimes I like that, but it was kind of weird the way that it went. But then it sort of resolves itself at the end and becomes maybe not the ending that I wanted, but a better ending than I expected when it started to kind of derail itself. But overall, enjoyable movie. I highly recommend it. And then Thursday night was poker night, so I got to get away from the kids for a few hours. And we went over to a friend's house. We actually used to play poker. And I find it funny because we used to do this years ago, and Sean used to be involved as well. But years ago, we used to play, and we'd play into 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and the games would just go forever because we had a lot more people then. This time, it was at least 3, 4, because I think Will even occasionally came to the old days. 4 of us, from the same group, and I mean, we started, granted, at 7 o'clock, which was a lot earlier than we ever started. And we were done by 10. So it was I just felt like that old man syndrome of, oh, wow, these poker games are different now. But it was a lot of fun. Bob was there. Do you remember Bob? Kings. He always played Kings.
Bob, yeah.
Will was there, or James Heckard. He brought a friend. So we had a new guy, and it was Dave and me and Corey. Shoot. And but he brought a new guy named Nels, and
Nels.
Yeah, nice guy, really nice guy. Is that the one that got sick? Okay,
Yeah.
I wondered. I didn't bring it up, but I wondered if that was
that's the one.
Really nice guy.
Anyway,
I haven't managed to kill him yet.
The problem with Nels is he won, but it's not a problem with him, but he won. That was the problem with the situation.
The beginner's luck.
Well, it's not even so much beginner's luck because he played pretty good. He's a little rough. He's obviously didn't play as much as the rest of us. The problem with a new guy at the table is, I know how Dave plays. I know how Bob plays. I know how Corey plays. I somewhat know how Will plays because I've played a few times with him. I know nothing about this guy. I know nothing about how this guy plays. And so it's real difficult to get reads. It's real difficult to get, find a tell. It's all these different things. It just really kind of throws your game off. But he ended up winning. We split. We did the, first and second place split. And then he gave everybody back $10. We're like,
he's just a nice guy.
You don't have to do it. Nice guy, though. Nicest guy. Anyway, so that was fun.
I wish I could have been there.
Friday night, Caitlin's Play opened.
How did that go?
Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah, it wasn't a full capacity crowd, but they had a really good number of people there. Really enjoyable show. I didn't know too much about it because Holly's been working with her with lines and been at home when she's been rehearsing songs and things like that, and actually gone to rehearsals. So Holly knew a lot about the show. I knew very little about it. But really, the premise of it is there was these 2 jazz musicians that wrote this show, and the idea was to prove that kids could do jazz, that they could get it, that they could, because jazz is a very difficult genre, or musical genre to kind of grasp, because there's a lot more inner. What am I looking for? Inner passion, or you kind of get it or you don't. You know what I mean?
Well, there's different levels of jazz too. I mean, if you're listening to this level of jazz versus Coltrane,
right. Well, certainly, yeah. But all the kids did a great job. They were all very energetic, very animated, very really good voices, and so it was really good. And she had 3 performances this weekend. So she was Friday, Saturday, then a Sunday matinee, and then she's got 2 more weekends following of that. So,
how did she like doing the performances?
She thoroughly loved it. This is her first show that she's ever done, and she's been having a blast. She wanted one of those kids that she wanted the practices to go longer. She didn't want the practices to end, and the shows, she's just like, the first night you could tell she was really nervous about it, and because she'd already done, they did a tech show on Wednesday with the audience, and they did dress rehearsal on Thursday with an audience, and so that was already kind of nervous. But opening night was that's kind of the big one.
More, yeah.
So she was quite nervous about that, and then but that went well, and so she looked forward to being there the next 2 days. But I highly recommend the show because it's a lot of fun. It's short; it's only about 50 minutes. So
that's not bad at all.
And that was it. Saturday we didn't really do much because she had the show. The kids and I and Holly just kind of hung out and ran some errands, did some things around the house. That was pretty much it. Let me get... Now, as you alluded to, I want to jump back because the week before I actually got a couple of movies in. And I'll do them real quick so that we don't have to dwell on them too much. But I finally saw John Carter.
Yay!
Which the only thing that movie suffered from was its marketing campaign, because it's an enjoyable film. It
really is.
It's no Star Wars or anything like that, but it's really really fun film.
Yeah, if marketed properly, it could have been a lower tier next Star Wars with more movies. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly
could have been a fifth element.
It should have been a
yeah.
No,
Glenn doesn't like it.
Glenn doesn't like it.
Yeah,
Doesn't like anything.
John Carter was mounds and above Fifth Element. No. John Carter needed to be a franchise series. It really does, and I wish that it had marketed better because it's really a fun film and quite enjoyable. Great special effects, of course. That's where they massively spent their budget. You can tell, but
and they went over budget if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Partially why it ended up being as much of a flop was they went so much over budget.
No, the biggest thing, the reason why it's a flop, is because it's just called John Carter.
It needed
That's
to be of
Mars.
Biggest
thing. It needed to be of Mars. Because even if you're a science fiction fan, you're looking for something to go see. If you just... I'm saying casual science fiction fan, because I think most sci-fi fans knew what this was or what was coming. But if you're a casual science fiction fan and you just hear the name John Carter, you're going to blow that off and think, well, that's that's probably some drama or something like that. You put Of Mars on there, and somebody's ears perk up, and they go, "Wow, this is science fiction. I like science fiction. Maybe I should check this out."
I watched a couple of trailers too. The trailers weren't good for it either. Didn't sell what was good about it.
For Hollywood, pay attention.
It was released at the wrong time of year.
Nickel's worth of free advice for all you multi-million-dollar conglomerates. With very, very few exceptions, any name title just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Aaron Brockovich. I have no idea who this person is. I don't care. He sent me a trailer. Okay, maybe. Oh, it won some awards. All right, now I'll check it out. That's pretty much the level you have to get to for me to take an interest in your movie. Yeah. You know? What was the one? Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
I don't know who this is. I don't care.
The only reason you would care about that is if you've read the books.
Yeah, I haven't.
Well, same thing with John Carter.
Well, yeah.
I mean, to me, John Carter was, before I started finding out what it was, John Carter was the character on ER that was played by Noah Wiley.
Yeah.
When I first heard the words John Carter, I thought, are they making a movie about this one guy from ER? Lincoln. I mean, oh, wait. That one, you probably can't count that one.
Boba Fett. I'd go see that movie. But, other than that, there's, like I said, very few names. So you just put the two together on a marquee and expect it to work.
It'd be like taking Serenity and naming it Malcolm Reynolds.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
It doesn't work. It does not work.
And Of Mars, and that makes something
Captain
different.
Phillips. Don't care. I don't know who this guy is. Mary Poppins.
I think that's why they were going with the John Carter name.
I think that's probably why they didn't. That's why they named it Saving Mrs. Banks, so it wasn't as.
That all of a sudden is interesting to me. Saving Mr. Pan.
Why are we saving him?
Why are we saving him? Yeah.
Well, they weren't going to call it Mary Poppins 2. Making it Mary Poppins. The other thing I saw was The Lone Ranger.
How was that? John Carter was phenomenal.
Wait, let me get my kazoo.
First of all, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Johnny Depp's the best part of this movie.
Was I wrong?
And I thought that I was going to get Captain Jack Sparrow, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Which I was immensely pleased with. It was worth watching the movie to see Johnny Depp.
If they ever add it to Netflix.
The problem with this film is that they tried too hard to be Pirates of the Caribbean. And by that I mean it's one thing to have a fantasy pirate movie, fantasy pirate film. And it's another thing to do fantasy western, because pirate films are few and far between. And in order to do pirate, especially nowadays,
fantasy.
You have to inject that mysticism and fantasy and all of that into it to really kind of make it fun.
Otherwise, it's Captain Phillips.
Or I was going to go Cutthroat Island.
Oh, okay.
Or Cutthroat Island. Yeah. The problem with doing western as a fantasy is that western is an established genre that already has a specific set of rules, essentially. And if you're going to inject some of the mysticism, it has to be that implied mysticism and not quite. It can't be carnivorous bunnies. I mean, it just can't be carnivorous bunnies. You can't do
Are there
that.
carnivorous bunnies in this?
Nature's out of balance.
We should totally do carnivorous bunnies in a western.
I don't want to give too much away, but nature's out of balance is fine. Nature's out of balance because of carnivorous bunnies. As a result, there's carnivorous bunnies. That doesn't work. You have to keep that mystery.
Are you referencing
there.
Something else?
Yeah, no, it's in the film.
It's in carnivorous bunnies?
There's a lot more to it, but I don't want to
Well, okay, that kind of makes that part makes you want to watch it.
But then Jerry Bruckheimer...
Lone Ranger, Johnny Depp, nothing. Carnivorous bunnies, ooh.
You got the piranha aspects for me.
No, I don't get too excited about carnivorous bunnies. There's just one shot. But
that's a big disappointment.
There's the and then you got Jerry Bruckheimer's thumbprint all over this thing, because it gets a little too fantastical with even the action adventure to me. So overall, I thought the plot was pretty good. The story was pretty well developed, but it became too much splash and jazz that it really took me out of the story sometimes. So, I'm not a purist. I'm not a huge. I watched Lone Ranger casually as a kid. I watched the cartoon casually as a kid. That's it. I didn't know that much about the Lone Ranger, other than the Legend of the Lone Ranger, which I think is a much better film that was done in the 1980s. But yeah, I don't know. I just
see. I kind of had the reverse. I enjoyed the action and the spectacle, and thought the story kind of suffered because it was that story. I mean, admittedly, it's a Western, which it's an established genre, but it's kind of a trope because there's really only 5 Western stories, and once they get to that midway part in the film, you're like, oh, we're telling that one. I know who's behind this. You know, so they treat it like it's a big reveal, and it's not. It's like, come on, the railroad, and
I could tell that from the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big surprise, and they kind of treated that, but I was surprised they actually used the William Tell Overture. I kind of kept waiting for it, and waiting for it, and waiting for it, and then they finally brought it. I'm like, are you really going to do it?
You know,
and they did, and it sounded fine.
No. See, here's the thing: is it was fine for a while, but then it was way overused, because I thought, you know what, that was a great nod. Yes, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. You're really still doing this, and you've got these like harrowing problems and really serious stuff, and I'm still hearing the da-da. I mean, there was moments that it didn't work.
Yeah,
within the action.
I agree.
And what I would have preferred was that the heroic moments of the scenes being the William Tell Overture, and then just kind of do maybe transitioned into something else for a little while, and then when the heroic moments come, bring it back. But it was almost like this whole string of a minute and a half of William Tell Overture over things that the William Tell Overture shouldn't have been going over. So
either the composer or the editor was being lazy.
Well, it was composed by, of course, it had to be.
James Horner.
No.
It's not.
It was Hans Zimmer, because he did all the pirate movies and everything like that. And it sounds like all the pirate movies until you get to the William Tell Overture. I think it needed a little John Williams. It needed to sound like Raiders. Like, here's the Raiders March because Indy's doing something cool. And then we're going to pull it back.
Right. That would have worked.
And then here's the Indies March because he's doing something cool. And
That would have worked for me.
Yeah.
But,
that's what it needed. But anyway.
But yeah, they went there. So anyway, those were the two films that I fell behind on. Caught back up. So
Yay for John Carter.
Yay for John Carter.
Yay for John Carter, and a for Lone Ranger. I didn't hate it. It was an enjoyable ride. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be. But kudos to Johnny Depp. I was like, wow. I enjoy Johnny Depp in those types of characters. I don't enjoy Johnny Depp as well, I like to use Edward Scissorhands, but I don't like him. I don't like him in Tim Burton stuff. I just don't like him in Tim Burton stuff.
Modern Tim Burton stuff.
Yeah. But I like him.
Because he was fantastic.
I just like him in Jerry Bruckheimer stuff.
I think Tim Burton just... There's a point where Tim Burton took a turn. And that's where Johnny Depp is not good in Tim Burton stuff. Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood...
Yeah, he was
Ed Wood is probably one of Johnny Depp's best movies.
I would agree.
See, I liked Sleepy Hollow.
But that was that a Johnny
Tim
Depp?
Burton.
See, I didn't like Johnny in that. It was a decent film, but I didn't like him.
I
didn't like I didn't like the story of that. I didn't like the way they went with the story. But.
I liked Sweeney Todd.
Well, that wasn't your standard Tim Burton film either.
He was working from material that wasn't really his own. So.
Yeah, but there are other times when he's worked from material that wasn't really his own, and look how Charlie and the Chocolate Factory turned out. Better story-wise.
That's not a good
No.
Johnny.
He didn't Burtonize Sweeney Todd as badly as he did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Exactly.
Alice in Wonderland.
See, and I enjoyed Johnny Depp in that, so I guess
I
that's
didn't.
not fair.
I did
Wait,
not
that
like
wasn't
it.
a Tim Burton.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
Yeah. I did not like a single frame of that film.
That's pretty. Yeah, it's
Was
pretty
that
much
Tim
nothing.
Burton? It
Yeah,
was
it's Tim Burton.
Oh no, I take that back. I liked the Cheshire Cat.
Well, of course you did. It was Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
I liked the ending when the credits rolled and they let me out of the theater. That's the part.
I'm glad I didn't go see that in the
I
theater.
quite enjoyed that.
Big Fish, but Johnny Depp's not in
Johnny
that.
Depp's not in that.
Batman, but he's.
It's when they got back together after Sleepy Hollow is when it kind of takes a turn.
Yeah. Either way, he's good in The Lone Ranger. What'd you guys do?
What'd you do?
I worked Glenn shift all week. It was Sarah's birthday this week, so I ran away from the station a couple nights and had dinner. Took an hour break or so, and other than that, worked on Lego Marvel a little bit. I took a trip with Sarah's mom and Sarah's nephew, or our nephew, to Seneca to meet family and came back. That was kind of a fun little trip. He's very into Lego Star Wars right now. So, yeah.
Video game.
The what?
The video game.
No, the actual Lego Star
cool.
Wars. He and his dad are playing the complete saga.
He must be a Doctor Who fan then.
He will be.
He will be, if I have any say to it.
No, just according to Sean, if you're a Lego fan, you're a Doctor Who fan. That's just the way it is.
We had him over
The
for
Venn
cake
diagram
tonight.
shows a probability of overlap is 98.2%.
Oh, good lord. No. See, I went with your Venn diagram before, but now I don't. No, not even close.
He came over tonight, and I introduced him to the micro series for the Clone Wars.
Oh.
And there were parts of it where he was kind of blah, 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 because he's 5. And there were parts of it where he was kind of transfixed. So I think I might, for a present, like later down the road, pick him up for him to have at his dad's. And then we watched Frozen. Yeah.
Because you hadn't seen it.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It deserves all the praise it's gotten.
Yeah.
I kind of went into it thinking, yeah, I'll probably enjoy it. I knew Sarah would love it, and she turned to me afterwards and said, "I love that. That's a must-own." And I said, "Well."
You said, "Yeah, I know, isn't it?" I agree. Let's go buy it now.
Ironically, I thought to myself when I went to go rent it, I should just buy it because I knew she'd love it. I didn't, but I went into it expecting not to like Olaf, and I did.
Yeah. He's a great character.
I also just
He's not overdone. He's not. He's
not-
over,
that- that's
he's
the
not,
thing.
He's not
he's
Mater.
He's not Mater. He's not Genie, which Genie was fine. Genie worked. But you got to have a personality like Robin Williams.
Exactly.
He's
I don't
not,
like
he's
Josh
not
Gad.
Mushu from Mulan because I thought he was a little overdone. Although I thoroughly enjoyed the character, he was way overdone.
I can see that.
He's
just the right amount.
Just the right amount.
I am the great
and
stone
he's
dragon.
lovable.
Good morning.
And he's lovable.
And I'm just amazed because I can't stand that actor.
Oh, is that right?
So apparently,
I haven't seen him
Is
in
it,
much.
who is it?
Josh Gad. He's the wannabe Seth Rogen.
Oh, he's one of the troop.
He's-
See, I kept thinking it was Jonah Hill. Even though I
He's
knew
the
it wasn't
wannabe
Jonah Hill.
Jonah
I think
Hill.
he's
He's
more-
the wannabe Seth Rogen.
I would say he's the one to be Jonah Hill. He's not really
I
the
think
wannabe
that's a
Seth
bit
Rogen.
more. He's been in like Love and Other Drugs, and he was in that short-lived 1600 Pen show.
Yeah.
I've
He was
I
in
liked
thing-
him in that.
he was in Things
so.
for Smoking. I didn't like him in that either. He's not somebody I liked, but apparently in the right role, everybody's good. Kristen Bell
was
did
quite
a
lovable.
phenomenal job.
Oh,
in
both-
I had no idea she had. I knew Idina Menzel had had the singing
Both
chops.
of those girls.
Or as as Travolta calls her, Hobbs on your bar.
But Kristen Bell's singing was so good. I had no idea she could sing like that. And I've been a Kristen Bell fan for a really long time, so that was quite a surprise. Yeah, there wasn't a thing I didn't like about it. It's such a good film,
It really is.
and it's definitely a must own. And other than that, lunch with my dad, had Kiku's for dinner with my mom for Sarah's birthday. Always good to have that. Which, for those that don't know,
invite me to dinner? I don't get to eat at Kiku's because nobody in my household likes
oh well,
Really?
it. Yep.
I'll go
maybe
to
for your
Kiku's with you.
birthday, all of us can go to Kiku's.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Because we don't go very often because it's so
We
expensive.
should take Sean for his birthday since we missed that. Well, I missed that.
We went to BD's after Plant Comic.
I know.
Which I'm sorry, Kiku's is way better. Than BD's?
Well, I would
Yeah.
concur.
I'm
because
going,
BD's
I'm
is
going to
more of
allow
that
it.
Mongolian grill
The
style.
only thing BD's has that over Kiku's is it's a buffet
Yeah,
and
you
unlimited.
just keep going
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow it.
Sean, what did you do?
Oh, it was spring break. And so the first thing I did was go to school.
Because you didn't realize it was spring break?
No, because I was helping Dr. Sharafe paint the green screen.
Because this is the only time we could catch up.
No, I'm still behind.
Oh, no.
But we painted the green screen room because we have a whole room in the art building for
Why'd you give it to me?
green screen. I don't know what it was. So we did that, and then I worked a lot because it was spring break and everybody else was off work, and so Matt needed extra people at the store. So I only had one day off this week. It was Wednesday, and we shot part of a short film Wednesday for class because that was the day that we were all available. So we did that. And then I kicked everybody out, and Mel and I had date night because we haven't had a date in like forever. And we watched Beneath the Planet of the Apes. We got caught up on that.
What did you think?
She really liked it up until the end.
Was it until they get to Under the Surface or until the actual
No, until
ending?
the actual ending.
Okay.
And I mean, she enjoyed like kind of the same, a lot of echo some of the same sentiments that I have. She loves the production design. The sets when they get down beneath the Planet of the Apes are really just amazing. It looks like a subway with rock, and I mean, it's the greatest Doctor Who set I've ever seen. She enjoyed that, and she enjoyed. The repeat appearances, and just once again how awesome Zira is as a character.
Yeah.
When she gets him out of the cage and all that kind of stuff. Loved all of that. Didn't even mind James Francisco, which I remember the first time I saw it as a youngling.
That's not Taylor.
Yeah, I was a little pissed. He was like, "Who's this
Pretty much
guy?"
not
Because this is
Taylor.
not. I'm going to call you not Charlton Heston. That's your name. It should come up in the credits and say.
Flicks with friends that night.
It should just come up in the
'Cause he
credits
was
and
a
say starring,
replacement.
not Charlton Heston. But so she did fine with all that. She was a little confused as to why the mutants wore masks to make themselves look human when they were obviously not. And then the ending came, and she just kind of went, "Okay."
Is she now confused that have the next why there are 3 more movies?
Yes, a little bit. And I said, don't worry, all will be revealed. So, but yeah.
Kyle, I talked to Kyle this week too.
How did he fare with it?
I think he came out liking it after all. Like he liked the boldness of it. He just had never seen a film like that. And I told him, you never will again.
Well, they did. Well, the one that I was alluding to but couldn't say it last week on the podcast without fear of ruining it was Terminator 3.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, this is a big, epic summer
That's not the same
blockbuster event, and it ends with World War III. Here.
Well,
Fade to black.
But
there are a lot of films
that was
that
more
have been
building
toward
to that.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, the
first two.
considering the whole point of the Terminator franchise is we've got to avoid this, we've got to prevent this, we've got to stop it. To get to the third one and just go, here you are, fade to black, roll credits.
That's what I liked about the third one.
I did too. I walked out of the theater going, wow, that took some cojones to pull that one off. Because I could see the studio execs being very,
you can't do that.
Where's the happy ending? You know.
Well, I think they were hoping that a fourth one would come, and then it just didn't happen.
So,
but it did
later, kind of.
For a different studio.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it wasn't. It was still
Wasn't
Warner
it?
Brothers. I think 3 and Salvation are still Warner. Anyway, but yeah, I admire them for doing that. But there's a lot of it that doesn't fit for me personally. I've kind of glazed over it, and yeah, okay, it is what it is. But really, the first half of the film I think is fine. It's really great, and then the mid part of the film where they're underneath, that's all fine. That's great. And really, it's just that last scene. We've got the gorillas attacking, and they knock the thing over,
I just had
and it
more problem
sprays
with the
smoke everywhere, and then all of a
Spoilers.
sudden, you know.
I just have a hard time
I
wrapping my
watched it
brain
now.
around the mutants.
Yeah, but anybody
in
that's
general.
listening to that still hasn't. It's such an iconic ending that I'd hate to ruin it for anybody listening.
Because
Okay.
unlike the first Planet of the Apes, this
Granted,
one is more of a surprise.
It's a 40-some-year-old film. So.
All right, so I'm going to throw the official spoiler warning up here. You don't want to know, fast forward 5 minutes. Okay, so explain this to me. We had a nuclear war, wiped out the whole planet. Apes took over. We've got one bomb that
The
apparently-
Alpha and the Omega,
the
final.
the Alpha and Omega, the final one, which I guarantee you, no military guy painted the Alpha and Omega symbols on this thing, thinking, "Oh, that's funny." That was done by the mutants. Why is this now the one bomb? Why is this the planet killer? Why is this the one that's going to end it all? And what's it doing in New York? Or what formerly was New York? And why didn't it get used in the last war if it's really that big a deal? Because I'm sorry.
Because this is the bomb that would crack the Earth in two.
Yeah, but if we're having a nuclear war and I'm losing or in danger of losing, I'm throwing that at them.
Well,
Screw you.
I always got the impression that the war elevated to the point where they never got a chance to use this bomb.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Okay, I'd buy
That was the way
for
I
now.
always got. And so this is the one that's kind of unearthed by the mutants later and raised up to be
Now,
worshipped
my
as
next
a
question
god.
then is, okay, so if it wasn't something that was created by man back in the day, did the mutants monkey around with it, intending it for it to be a world ending?
No,
because that's why they were
I
I don't
worshipping
They
think
found
the
it as
mutants,
was.
and I don't think the mutants actually knew what they had because
I
they
think
had
to some extent they did.
Well, I think they knew. I don't think they knew.
The firepower behind it, but they knew what it was. They didn't know it was the actual world-ending.
Who builds a world-ending bomb?
Who builds any bomb?
I
Well, I
disagree,
could build-
Keith.
I
I
could see
disagree. I
building
got
a
the
bomb.
impression that this group of people were so whacked out and so far removed that I don't think they knew
You don't think they-
exactly what it was. I think they looked at it as a powerful object. They raised it up to be their god, what they were worshiping. I don't think anybody knew that I push a button and it blows everything up. I just never got that impression from it. I got the impression that they were
Maybe they didn't realize what some of the chanting meant then. It was like some of the
Well-
chanting, I want to say there was kind of what's going to happen if they
Yeah,
blow it
I
up.
mean-
Well, that I would buy, like that one episode of Star Trek
I think
where
they
are chanting the Constitution, but they don't get the words. They're just broken up to syllables, and they're reading it off the thing, not having any concept of
which
what it
could be
actually
some of
is.
that, too.
I
So I
think
can buy
they
that.
knew that this. I still don't think they saw it as a bomb. I think they saw it as a powerful salvation or a powerful ending, something that was very powerful that could destroy everything. But
that for sure.
Yeah, but I don't get the impression that they connected the fact that Earth was wiped out. They were the last remaining survivors that had eventually mutated. And then I got the impression there was enough of a breeding gap
been
that this
how
is
many years
Yeah, exactly.
since that? Yeah.
So I mean, they were just
many,
so far
many.
removed, and that they. I love the idea that humans, as advanced and evolved that they had become at this point, still fell back into this arcane superstition or religion aspect of still having to have something to worship.
Yeah.
That's what blows me away about the whole thing. And then then concluding the movie in the way that it does.
Okay, so if it's a bomb, if we go with that, and it's a bomb that was created by man back in the day, it's a bomb built on 60s or 70s ish technology.
Sure.
Well, I think it was a bit further in the future than that.
I'll allow it. Why does the control panel have the Superman crystal, very futuristic aspects to it?
Well, they had to
I
adapt.
don't
doesn't
think
jive with
he
that.
didn't leave in the 1960s, though.
No,
He-
they left further in the future.
Yeah, like in 2050 something or something like that is what they say. Or
Oh, is it?
2030.
Something like
2050,
that. Let me see if I can find that out.
2070 is when they left.
Okay, so it's not present when the
No,
first
no,
one-
no,
Okay.
no.
no.
All right, so
It was-
even though it doesn't resemble anything else that we've seen so far, it doesn't look like the console, cockpit, spaceship controls. It doesn't look like
Well,
know,
I kind of
technology
got the
has a
impression
look.
that because they also use that for other things, like raising it up. Like it was more than just the controls.
So they
for
could
the,
have,
So that's
they
a
could have
mutant
made it.
control
mutant
versus
made
They
a
could have
control.
made it an ornate panel.
because I think they built it on top. The crystals on top of it to control because there were moments where they lifted the rocket up higher so they could worship it more or something. There's some. Yeah.
Do you think the mutants were whacked out enough that they would have ever actually attempted to launch it?
No. Because that would also mean losing their god.
yeah.
But in
It's
the
that-
gloriousness of becoming one with him and
Well,
fulfilling his
I think
purpose,
they would have done it
and-
by then.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
I don't know how whacked out they really
That's
were.
just it. I mean, it's this sharp balance of praising something that can bring total destruction, but also realizing that once it's gone, and I just
Yeah.
And then the mask business is just because the mutants are so emulating humans that we're going to put on this form because.
See,
There's a lot of deep ideas here.
because they're already doing these things in the forbidden zone to keep people out already. So why would they need bother? I got the impression that
I sort of was.
they
It
did.
was
They
an
only
if
did that
just in
to
case.
show themselves, their true selves. That they didn't want to look at each other like that.
I wouldn't want to look at him either.
So they only showed their true faces to the bomb.
Yeah,
To
I
their
kinda got
god.
that impression.
That's the impression I've always gotten.
Yeah.
That we're so ugly we don't want to see ourselves, but we'll show it to our god.
Okay, I'll buy that.
I don't. That's one thing. I can swallow the evolution and mutation of these people to have these more psychic abilities. I didn't like the mask thing either, though. I can excuse it in my head, but I'm not a big fan of it.
See, that's one of the things I like is the fact that the Forbidden Zone is not just an area with random fires and lightning storms and stuff. That it's all the mutants projecting these.
I like that explanation.
I dig that. So
I just don't like the face peel reveal. I think it would have been fine if they stayed.
That's for cinematic.
Yeah, it was for cinematic reasons, but I think it would have just been better if they would have just stayed human, looking human.
Anyway, so we watched that, and she enjoyed it. And then we watched Boogie Nights, because she'd never seen that one. And I just kind of had an inkling after Philip Seymour Hoffman passed. I was like, yeah, we should watch that one.
I liked it. It's one of those movies I don't think I could watch again.
Yeah, well, I hadn't seen it.
since I've seen
I
it.
hadn't seen it since it originally came out. And so it was kind of one of those, kind of go back and revisit. It was funny. She was like, so what's this movie about? Porn? No, it isn't. Okay. Oh my God, it is. I told you.
Did she automatically say, "Why haven't you showed me this sooner"?
No, she didn't. And then she made me watch Magic Mike.
How was that?
Honestly, it kind of reminds me of Showgirls, where Showgirls came out and had such a huge stigma and, oh, Showgirls, blah, blah, blah. And I watched it and I was like, it's not even worth it for the sex, really.
Well,
and horrible
Showgirls
acting.
was only
and-
stigmas because it was rated NC-17. It had nothing to do with the story of the plot.
yeah.
It was,
But the story and the plot were bad too.
no.
you
Well,
know.
the
They were
point
just-
is, though, the reason there was a big stink and everything was built up around it is because it got that NC-17 rating. And
I can honestly say the same thing. Kind of, I think in my mind applies to Magic Mike, where it was built up as this, and there's really not even all that much of that, you know. And it's an okay plot, but it's yet another in a long line of things where it's like, I don't really care about this character, and you kind of started to develop this one, but not so much. And then this guy shows up, he's kind of a jerk, and you know. So by the end of it was like, man. And then we watched The International tonight, which was just, it's an oldie, Clive Owen movie from, I don't know, 5 years ago. I'm still pulling things off the shelf and going, I haven't got to this one yet, you know. And I won't be keeping it. It was okay. So we did a lot of that. And then, of course...
Do you guys ever see Wonderland?
is that the Val Kilmer one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
You mentioned It's About Porn, so is that. So.
Yeah.
And that one's really good.
I've heard that. I just haven't seen it yet.
And the documentary on it is really fascinating, too.
you loaned that to me, I think.
I think so.
Or recommended it to me anyway. And it was fine.
You
I
didn't
didn't,
like it?
I didn't think it was that great. I mean, when it wasn't anything phenomenal, but it was good. It was fine.
What else did we do? I walked a lot this weekend, and then we had Katrina, which is always fun. There's something important that I wanted to mention from Friday. So
I thought of something else, too.
Mel's son Cody, they rewrote a law or something where he's actually eligible to go into the National Guard now, whereas before they recruited him and kind of strung him along for a long time and then didn't wind up happening. And his recruiter called him up and said, they've switched this. You can get in now if you want. So he went down, and Mel couldn't go because it would have required time off work. And so he asked if I would come, which is kind of a big step for Cody. And so I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. So drove down to Kansas City on Friday morning and took Billy and then Sam and Katrina down with me, and we watched him do the swearing-in ceremony. And, you know, just it wasn't even much of a ceremony. It was just do you promise to do this? Yeah, I do. And that was it. But it was a big deal for him, so I was glad that we were there for that. And then drove back. And I just happened, we got home and had a couple hours before I had to be at work. I just happened to throw my bag down and grab my iPad and hopped on Facebook just to kind of check and see what's going on. And realized, galley tickets are on sale. And crap, forgot all about that. I should probably jump on that. So I immediately, logged into the site and got them ordered, and took two different cards because I was waiting for one to process and it declined. I was like, oh God! So I had to go grab something else. And it came up. It gave me the little warning message that will hold these two for you for the next X number of minutes. So while that's doing it, I logged into my computer, and it said they were sold out. I was like, are you kidding me? So then I had to, finagle something and got the other card out. And it's really unfortunate that we have Galley and then Planet Con and then registration for Galley. The wallet is hurting. But got it taken care of and got our tickets. And then literally 75 minutes later, we're within 75 minutes, that was it.
Yeah.
Well, that's our first bit of news, is that
Look at that
Galley
segue I
One
set you up
tickets.
with.
Right. Galley One sold out.
sold out, all 3,200 of them.
Yeah. I didn't realize it until I got on Facebook or something this week, and because I had intended to buy my tickets and was going to do it, and I even knew, but I didn't put it. I usually put reminders for those kind of things on my phone, but I thought, I'll have all day to do it. And then I thought, well, if it's getting close, Sean certainly will text me and remind me because he wants us to go next year.
Yeah.
And then I read
Sean
online.
forgot.
Then I read online that it sold out in 75 minutes, and I thought, I probably wouldn't have even had a chance. So
I felt bad that I didn't let you guys know, but I
think I'm done.
I was scrambling.
I might try to do the transfers in October, but I'm not going to go into this too much because I don't want to badmouth the con. But that's kind of the nail for me in the coffin, because I like the idea. I've always liked the idea of the intimate con. I've always liked the idea of the cap, so that the problem is now it's becoming a members only club, and
I agree and I disagree.
I
kind of come down on the same, and maybe I'd feel completely differently if I hadn't gotten in. But I kind of come down on it the same as I did last year because I had the same concerns that it's a member-only club. But not all of it, but a large number of the angry tweets that flew Gally's way.
That's another reason.
I think that's unnecessary.
That's another reason why I don't want to go into it because I don't want to add on to that. But I had a lot of the same sentiment of the anger. I think it got a little out of hand.
I definitely think it got out of hand. But a lot of them were people that had been 7, 8, 9 years running, and they didn't get tickets.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that to me, it's not a members-only club because it's not the same group of 3,200 people that are going every year. But
now, okay, maybe members-only club is...
But it's getting close to the point where it could
It's an exclusivity club.
It is exclusivity,
and that's what I think that maybe members-only isn't what bothers me. It's that, and... Again, it's their con. They can do whatever they want with it, but it now is not a con that I had a blast 2 years ago. Would have gone this year. I can't do that thing where you have to get in this little tiny window of time to get into this little exclusive club. Now, I don't like that. It's not. I'll probably now try to shoot for Chicago TARDIS or LI Who or someplace else now, so that. They'll get my money. Because they get just almost equally as good of guests, and I can see a lot of those people there, and they aren't locking it down yet as far as how big they are. So
and you still
I understand that. I love the intimate con idea. I love the fact that there's not 40,000 people a day like there was at Planet Comic Con. But on the flip side of that, this has soured me on Gallifrey, and I'm turned off.
I've just written it off if I'm not going to get in. That's just I'm not even going to try because they're.
I want you guys to try.
It's just a matter of
I might look into it in October, but
at the very least, I want you to look into it in October and see if you can get a chance.
I'm very sour.
And for anybody who did, I understand Michelle got a ticket.
The thing is, if I get Chicago TARDIS tickets, I definitely won't be going to Gallifrey next year. And it's probably more likely that I'll get Chicago TARDIS tickets because, number one, I can fly straight out of here, and number two, there's no cap on it right now. So that'll probably be what happens.
Yeah, I understand Michelle got tickets, and I don't know if any of the rest of us it didn't sound like it from
Chrissy said her bank account told her no.
Yeah.
So did mine. I just kept trying.
And I think Brittany was going to try, and then she didn't get in on time, so she's going to keep an eye out in October.
But I'd still like to have you guys there, and like I said, I agree with the majority of what you're saying because if I hadn't happened to have looked, I'd have been out. Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to get in. It just happened to work out that way that I did. And Mel and I had kind of already put that, we're going to do one more year, we're going to do this year, and then that'll probably be it for trying to go out there for a while. I think we'll let it kind of lie down and go to Chicago TARDIS or LI Who or one of the other ones.
I think I just don't want to put that much work into trying to get to a con.
Well, that's just it. That's kind of the thing. I mean,
if I can just go on, I can do things at my leisure. I don't want to be under a time constraint of I got to get tickets at a certain time, or else I'm not going to get in.
Yeah, and I
think that's my feel about it.
It
not so much
works
that
both
it's
ways.
exclusive.
Yeah, it works both ways. The fact that it is 3,200 and it is a small, intimate experience versus like St. Louis or Planet Comic Con or one of those where you're basically cattle in a line. And that was something like with Shatner. I mean, he was fun, he was friendly and he was pleasant in the amount of time that he had to be friendly and pleasant from the standpoint that he's got 600 more people behind me. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he wasn't going to sit there and schmooze because he was on a time schedule. And I understand that from the con experience. As a fan, it's a little disappointing. But, Galley, you don't have that. But then you have to deal with all the front-end BS, of dealing with it. So it's a catch-22. It goes both ways. But so, yeah, it's sold out if you didn't get in. Maybe in October when transfers open up. And this is the insane thing is that there's nobody announced. Yeah. There's not a single guest announced for this con
and
yet.
There won't be.
Yeah, not until sometime this summer. I think.
They put on a great con, and that's why people are vying to get back there or get in there because of word of mouth, and they do a good job. I just think they could do a great job with 6,000 people instead of 3,200 people. I think you can still have an intimate con under 10,000 people.
I would agree.
I still think you can do.
I would agree. It can be done. It can't be
con.
done at that hotel.
No, they need to
It
find
can't,
a new
it can't be
place.
done with
They
the structure they
certainly
have.
need a new
And,
location.
Sean and his group have said repeatedly they have no interest in finding another venue. And again, if I'd been doing this for 25 years and this is what I was comfortable with and this is what I had set up, and you've got the support structure, you've got this, you've got this. I understand not wanting to go out and do the legwork. That's a lot of work to put on a con.
Right.
Let alone one with 3,200 people at it. Let alone one with 10,000 people at it. But
And that's what I say. It's their con. They can do whatever they
Yeah.
want with it. But that's the one thing that probably won't have me going back. So probably won't go to LIHU either. That's a long way away. but Chicago TARDIS, LIHU.
I love the
God
East
bless
Coast,
them. I think
though,
they do
so
a
that's why I'm
good
more
deal.
leaning towards the
well,
LIU.
we say you've got family
Yeah,
that's
I can-
nearby, so that's a.
Well, see, and I've never been to Chicago. So
I've never been to Chicago either. I want to go.
I'm curious to go
Chicago
to
is
Chicago.
so
I've been to New York and Long Island and all that stuff. So.
But going to Chicago, you got to make 2 trips because you go once for the con and see a little bit of the city, and then you got to go back for do everything else.
Well, that's true.
That's why we're planning a second trip to St. Louis because Sarah's never been to St. Louis before.
Wow.
Yeah,
How are you a Midwesterner? I've never been to St. Louis.
I had been, but I was really small, and apparently all of the museums are free to get into, as is the zoo.
Yeah.
So that makes us want to go back.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're not going to have time with the St. Louis Comic Con and the guests they've got.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We've been to St. Louis several times as a couple, Mel and I have, and have yet to do any of the attractions in St. Louis. So,
Speaking of St. Louis,
Matt Smith is coming.
I don't think you'll be able to put a chair on stage for him, but that's still exciting. That
I still haven't come down from that
I'm actually
stage. I
quite
really
jealous.
haven't.
I get to meet my doctor.
That's neat. I'd like to meet him, and I still wouldn't get him to sign anything, but that's...
I'm really
I'd love to
tempted
meet
by
him.
a photo op.
How much
I'm
it
really
does.
tempted. Let me pull it up.
Expensive.
Yeah. I can
Well, the
do it.
autograph's $99.
I can do it. They tend to be $15 more than an autograph, it seems.
Oh, gosh.
Does that get you both? Just out of curiosity, is it
For $195, I can get Karen and Matt.
together in a photo?
And though that 2 hours that they're doing the
It's the
photos,
only time they're
it's the
together.
only time they're together at the con, because he leaves and then she's on Sunday only.
Yeah, she's coming in. It's the time that he's leaving.
Yeah.
So.
Matt himself is the same price as an autograph, so $99.99. $65 for Karen, so that's only $5 more for the picture. Yeah,
No. No, thank you.
and I had my credit card and thinking, I just paid that off.
He's an incredible.
I've
He's an incredible man. He's an incredible actor. He's a wonderful doctor, and I'm still not going to pay $100 for your signature.
Who would you pay $100 for?
Harrison Ford, maybe. That's it.
Tom Baker.
I'm not sure I'd pay that much for Tom.
Really?
Considering my doctor's collection is growing, and we're the last living doctor that I could get, I might pay $100 for it, but I don't know that I'd pay $100 for Tom.
I don't know when the next time Matt would come around here either.
I don't think I'd pay more than $50 for anybody, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Even Harrison Ford. Just 50's my cap. I mean, it's hard for me to pay 50 for anybody. But
it's
50's my cap. Really above 40. Is,
There are 2 people I will pay
I'm not going to pay for your signature.
Yeah.
that much for, and these 2
I
other
will.
people.
I will stand in their
That much
line.
for.
I'll stand in their line for 2 hours and go up there and talk to them and meet them. That's fantastic. I'm not going to pay for your signature on a photograph that much money. I'm sorry. I stand fast on the fact that that's absolutely ridiculous, and it's enough for me to pay $40 for somebody. So
I agree in sentiment. I know.
Just not in practice.
Well, I mean, I balked at paying $50 for Edward James Olmos last year.
Oh, and we didn't. Yeah, none of us did.
Didn't do it. I justified Shatner's $75, technically $80, because I bought a
James
picture.
Ellis, that was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Was it 2 years ago?
I think so. It was
Yeah,
the
I
same
think it
year
was.
as,
Same year.
Billy.
Yeah, same year as Billy Dee.
Before they moved to Bartlehall.
I justified Shatner's $75 because
It's Shatner.
it's Shatner.
Well, if I
I mean,
had
that man is kind of a cornerstone of my fandom.
Yeah.
if I had
And he
hunted
turned
it,
83
if I
yesterday,
had hunted
so.
it as long as you had too, That would have been
and having seen him several times,
Right.
or at least one time before, not having his autograph.
Yeah.
Because they weren't doing them at that point. So,
Yeah.
you know, I justified that. You know, now would I love to go to St. Louis and get Matt Smith? Yes, 100.
Yeah, I won't do that. But yeah, no, I'm excited that he's there, and I'm excited that fans will be able to see him.
I think Matt and Nathan are the only two I would ever pay that much for.
I'm excited that he'll pull probably about $10,000 in that weekend just for signing autographs.
Because all the other people, aside from Karen, who's $20 more than what you want, which I can swallow that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
for
get
Karen
either. So
See, I didn't get Billy's because of the cost.
Yeah, well,
Billy,
Piper.
oh,
I like Karen much more than I like Billy Piper.
how much was Billy's?
She was. She 50.
I don't
Is that what
remember.
I said?
Martha was 40, right? I think that's right.
I think Martha was 35.
Was it 35?
I think she was 35. Rory was 35, or Arthur was 35. Billy was. I want to say she was 55. It was a significant jump from one to the other, and it was just enough of a jump that I was like, nah.
But since Karen's my companion, I'm kind of wishing now we had gotten a Rory and Arthur from Galley. I still think I'll have another chance at that, though.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's the other thing too, is with the new series companions, and doctors for that matter. I think there's a much, with the possible exception of Eccleston, I think there's a much greater chance of seeing them at a con.
Well, Karen's having quite the rise in success, more so than Matt.
Well, that's
which
just-
makes me kind of want to make sure I get it now when I have the opportunity.
That's a valid point.
She's got Guardians of the Galaxy. She's shooting a pilot right now with John Cho. I mean, she is up and coming. So I would be surprised if it's not another 40 years until she starts.
She could be the next Meryl Streep, and I'm not going to pay $100. I'm not going to pay $65 for her autograph.
Well, it just means we need to buckle down and get the script finished and get the movie made so that we can get out there and hobnob with all these people. And I'll cast her in something,
Well, there
and you
you
can
go.
say, "Hey, I loved you in Doctor Who."
Yeah, when I get out there and get to
know,
know them, I won't need their signatures. So.
no, I'd still get
I'll
your
just be
autographs.
friends.
Have them speed dial.
That's right. I'm used to be that.
I will. I'll speed dial them and say, "You know what? I just realized as long as I've known you, I still don't have you hanging on my wall. Why don't you come over? We'll throw some pigs on the barbecue, and we'll rectify that. I got a photo all set for you."
Oh, there's another little con that I wanted to give just a quick mention to.
Yeah.
Smallville Comic-Con in Hutchinson.
It's the very first year.
It's their very first year. For anybody that doesn't know, Hutchinson, Kansas, there's a guy in Hutchinson, I don't remember his name now, but he pushed for the city to change their name to Smallville, Kansas, because he said it's the perfect example of what Smallville would be in the comic books. It's the right size, it's the right... If they've got the Cosmosphere, they've got a lot of attention for a small town, that it would be really cool to have Smallville as its name. They should officially change the name. And, of course, the City Council denied the request to ultimately name it Smallville, but the mayor did do a proclamation last year deeming it Smallville for a day. So they got
It was
that
like
through.
around the same time Man of Steel came out,
It
wasn't
sure
it?
was, yeah. In fact, that was one of the things that I think got it. It got national attention because of the fact that Man of Steel was coming out then. So what they have done this year is the mayor is going to proclaim Hutchinson, Kansas, Smallville, Kansas again on the 21st. And that'll be in conjunction with the Smallville Comic Con. And they have a few small guests.
Yes.
Not huge media names, but...
Let me go through the list real quick.
Yeah,
I
go
have it
ahead.
right here. Aaron Smolensky, who played Little Kal-El in the original Superman.
Young Clark. He
Young
was
Clark.
He was the kid that crawls out of the ship and the one that holds the truck up. And now he wasn't the baby. He was
The first naked kid I ever saw in a movie.
first naked
Yeah,
kid
pretty
you ever
much.
saw.
Yeah, okay.
That was him.
Michael Coleman,
Do you think you'll have that photo to put aside?
who's been in Once Upon a Time, Supernatural, and Smallville, and other stuff. AZ Power Girl, cosplayer.
Cosplayer. Yeah.
Alfred Trujillo, an artist, and Elenia Huffman.
Lane Husband, I think, is the biggest name because she's
Yeah.
been in Stargate Universe. She was
Supernatural
Lieutenant
and-
Tamara, and Lieutenant Tamara Johansson, and Smallville's Black Canary.
Con last. She wasn't.
Was she?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recognize
Last year
the
or 2
name.
years ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
She was
yeah.
Black Canary in Smallville. She's been in
Supernatural or something.
NCIS. Well, I think she's on Supernatural now.
Oh,
Yeah,
so you have something.
She's
And then a couple other
abandoned the Queen of
cosplayers.
Hell on CW's Supernatural. But it looks like a small, intimate,
And
comic
you never know,
convention.
they might even add more
But
guests.
yeah, we'll I suppose we'll let
Tom
you know if
Welling.
more come.
Maybe.
Say Tom Welling.
Brandon Root. He went to Omaha last
Why
year.
Still
not?
angry
Yeah, I
over
mean,
that.
He
why
was
not?
at Free Comic Book Day at
I would be
Krypton.
surprised. I would be surprised if they
I
could.
mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if they
They're
could
obviously
do.
focusing on
Dean
Superman,
Cain, for crying out
Superman
loud.
guests.
I'm sure
I
Dean
think
Cain would do
Dean's might be doing Wizard.
He is doing. He's
doing
on a
So he might
circuit
be
now,
under
but
contract.
well, I guess that's true. Yeah.
The Wizard people tend to stick with Wizard cons.
Just up the road is from Hutchinson or Smallville, Kansas, is Wichita, where they had a monumental moment
They
this week.
did. Another one.
Yeah.
Because we reported last
this-
week how they had the telethon and
Yeah.
3 doctors. They started their run and showed Robot.
On
on
KTPS.
KTPS.
We're on it this week.
I'm racking
Well,
my
we're
brain.
not on KTPS this week, but we're
I'm
on
racking my brains trying to think of where are you going with this story? What's happening in Wichita? What did I miss out on?
KTPS. aired Robot.
Yes. And it sounds like there was a good response from what I saw on Facebook.
Oh, good.
Good job to those guys in the Whovians of Wichita and all those Sean and everybody that got that going. That's true.
Yeah, keep going on it. I think next week is the next story. I'm blanking on the title.
Ark in Space.
Which we have to be Arc. So every week for the next several weeks. That whole season.
Ark in Space, and then
Suntarn Experiment.
Suntarn Experiment. Oh yeah, and then Genesis. It's like, I did that. Oh wait, yeah, Suntarn Experiment, and then Genesis as well. So.
And then Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yee!
Yeah. Meh. No.
You know
All
what's
right.
funny? I handed my mom the specials box set because she's ready for that. And some of her thoughts of the season 4 2-parter was, man, I really hate those Daleks. And so I handed it to her and I said, no Daleks in this one. And she said, yay! Got Cybermen next. Oh, man! She just doesn't like the robotic aliens for some reason.
Well, you get a lot of dosage of those in the first, especially when you're mainlining.
Yeah,
What
that's true.
what was the actual terms?
Oh,
I love
she
this.
calls Daleks petulant children.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, isn't it?
And our last bit of news for this week.
Speaking of Daleks,
Were we?
kind of.
Or does this correlate?
It kind of correlates because he's the one that brought it back to our screen. The Ninth Doctor is going to be a part of Doctor Who Legacy soon. They're looking for people's help. To aid him in battling his greatest foes, he'll be given 2 abilities, but they need 2 Ninth Doctor-inspired names for them. So go on their Facebook page and comment, or or your favorite one that's been commented already, and the best 2 will be used in the game. So you get to choose the name of his abilities.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
One's got to be Fan-tastic.
Ooh,
I
Okay.
don't
depending
know
on
what
what
it'll be,
the
but that's got to be the
if-
name.
somebody here has a great suggestion. If it's a healing ability, everybody lives.
Everybody Lives is a good one, too.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I like that.
Just this once.
Everybody Lives. Well, should we move on to feedback?
Before we start feedback, I remembered a story that I wanted to relay.
Okay.
Sarah was helping a customer in the store the other day who was a Whovian, and she was telling them, yeah, my husband and his 2 friends hosted the Sylvester panel at Planet Comic-Con, and they said, oh, are they the Vortex boys? And I'm sorry, listener, she did not get your name, so I wanted to give a shout out to you and your daughter who both listened to us.
Oh, wow.
And thank you for listening. And write into us. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more importantly, the expression on Sarah's face when her jaw hit the floor because
What,
There are
people are
strangers that
listening?
listen to.
it's
You've got more than 7 listeners?
I'm still amazed
8, 9
by it.
now.
So,
There
yeah.
they are.
well, it suddenly became real to her that that's you know.
Well, we got that great response during the panel, and she was surprised by that. And because
I was surprised by
yeah,
that. I'm still
I mean,
surprised by that.
It's Brittany, Chrissy, Rachel, Brenda, all of you. We love you, and we love hearing from you. But it's still amazing to hear that there are other people out there that listen to us that we don't hear from every time.
Yeah.
Certainly true.
But I wanted to say hey to them.
Well, speaking of our listeners, now
Let's
we'll
move on
move
to
to feedback.
Holly wrote in fan show part 2. Hello, everyone. Great last podcast, and thanks so much for posting the side trip of your panel with Sylvester McCoy. Loved every minute of it. Loved all the stories as well. I'll wrap it up here. I'm looking forward to what other goodies and interviews you have planned for this episode. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
We hope we've got goodies for you, too. Next up is Brittany.
Yes.
Brittany writes, envious. Brittany is envious. Hello. Just wanted to send a quick message to say that I really enjoyed your recap of Planet Comic-Con and the panel with Sylvester McCoy. I am still quite envious about your weekend, but I had fun looking through the photos and the tweets. I have to say I listen to plenty of podcasts that have interviews, panels, and bumpers, but I get truly excited and proud, if that's the right word, when it's you guys doing them. I'm going to guess because, with other podcasts, I'm just a listener. With you guys, you're my friends. Okay, enough of that. Time to wrap up this feedback. Can't wait to hear the interviews and all the other goodies you have planned. Brittany.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany.
And last but not least is Chrissy. Chrissy writes, no one can con anyway. Dear, we're not going to do this again. Dear Vortex boys, after your giggle fit over Can't Con, I had to look it up and see if it was actually a real thing or that you were just that punchy. Sure enough, there it was. And if you look in the What is Can't Con section, you weren't too far off with your theory of how Can't Con started, being that someone couldn't make it to a convention and they just made up their own for people who can't con, which is actually quite clever. And she included their link, which I will include in this week's show because I didn't last week.
For shame.
I think you saw that, didn't you? On the,
Yeah,
you went
yeah.
there and kind of that's where you.
I clarified it later.
Yeah. To answer your
But
questions,
we all still might have been laughing.
I'm sure we were. To answer your questions about Salt Lake Comic-Con and Fan-X, apparently it's that the inaugural Comic-Con was so huge and such a big success, and I can attest to this, they decided to create Fan Experience as a sub-con/semi-annual event and actually use the entire convention center. They also had a pre-convention Fan-X event in January with George Takei, and I had to miss because of work. Sad day.
Aww.
But I hear it went well. So Fan-X is in April and Salt Lake Comic-Con is in the fall, probably September. And just to go off track for a minute, I also found out that Salt Lake City is going to be getting a huge brand new convention center/hotel. We don't actually have one of those in this state, and they've been trying to get one out here for a long time, and the success of Salt Lake Comic-Con actually spurred that on. So as big as Salt Lake Comic-Con was last year, they'll be able to expand it in the future. That's exciting.
Wow.
That's very, very cool.
I can't believe there's not one of those in Utah.
I'm a little surprised, too.
Seems strange to me. I just assumed every state had a...
Well, especially,
here's where we go to do stuff.
I assume Salt Lake's the biggest city in Utah,
Yeah.
too, so you would think. So, well, kudos. Great. It's been a wild weekend for me. I saw Divergent in the theaters, and I'm still blown away about how good it was. Everyone go see it. And I know you've got lots of surprises to get to, so I'll wrap it up here and let you guys continue with the podcast. Chrissy, I hope we didn't imply that we had surprises, like they were treats. I mean, they did.
Well, they are because
Oh,
they
we do
don't know
have
what they
our,
are.
yeah. Well, we
teased it.
we talked about what we were going to do last week, but surprises.
I have one more piece of feedback that just came in from Keith.
Oh,
It says, test.
test.
Yeah.
I was testing.
Thanks, Keith.
Yep.
All right. Well, last week at Planet Comic Con, we did get a chance to talk to a few people who have turned their fandom of Doctor Who, their fandom of Doctor Who into something
More.
Yeah, something substantial that really is entertaining the others. First will be the Collins family, and they. Just a little bit about them. No, not just a little bit about them.
More's the pity.
They built a red Dalek, a Dalek from scratch, and he's called Red Dalek, and you can find him on Facebook, and we'll have links to their page. But essentially, it's this really terrific Dalek that's been at the conventions the last few years. They were at the 50th, correct?
They were at the 50th,
they were at the
in
50th.
Kansas City when they did their little event. And they were a great joy to talk to and a lot of fun. And it's a family project, and I'll let them tell a little bit more. The next interview following that will be with a puppeteer named Mike Horner, and he is in charge of the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show, and it's quite fascinating how he got that started, and we'll let him explain that as well. So, without further ado, here they are.
I'm Eric Collins. I'm Alec Collins.
I'm Cameron Collins.
I'm Holly Collins.
And we brought a red Dalek here to the Comic-Con. We like to travel around with him because we put a lot of work into him when we made him for a Cub Scout costume contest, and everybody loves him.
So who's the Doctor Who fan, and why a Dalek?
Well, we're me, my dad, and my brother here. We're all Doctor Who fans, except for my mom.
She's iffy on it.
Yeah. And we decided he wanted to do a Dalek for his final year of Cub Scouts because he wanted to win the contest that year. And the first episode of Doctor Who he watched was with the 10th Doctor, or no, the 9th Doctor, I'm sorry, and the first time you see the Daleks with them. I believe it's just called Dalek. And he cried when the Dalek killed himself. The little guy there. So it all stuck with us, and we were all very happy that he wanted to do a Dalek and all that. He's a much bigger boy now. He wouldn't cry at that now. Yeah.
So what goes into building a Dalek? Now, you guys, you told me a little bit that you had gotten online and kind of researched a little bit, but your guys' direction kind of changed a little bit.
Right. The online plans are great. They are from a Dalek Builders Club in the UK. You can find them for free. They're for the 2005 version is what we went with here. That helped us get the scale. Unfortunately, theirs is for prop quality or better, and was going to be very expensive especially for a costume contest for the Cub Scouts. So we wanted to try and keep it down. Originally, we were going to give up. My father came in, who is a Doctor Who fan himself. Dennis Collins is his name. We'll put his name out there, too. He drove in from Colorado Springs to make sure his grandson could get a Dalek for the costume contest. And he helped us build one using scrap materials from pallets, old Weber grill for the dome, old flashlight, and Slurpee cup for the back of the eye. Old Tupperware. We did use new plunger. Didn't want to go used on that one. Lamp parts, foam board, and old wheels from a trash can even that we had and weren't using anymore. We kept it down to about $120 for the build.
So how's that work? Are you sitting around thinking what would work for this, or are you going through everyday life going, oh, this would make a great dome, this would make a great this or that?
Well, we had about a month and a half to build at this point. So as you're going through your everyday life, you go, hey, that looks like the dome, which was something my neighbor threw out. We were trying to figure out how we were going to do the dome. Our original thought was maybe some type of paper mache. Neighbor threw out that Weber grill. It was out there at the curb. I grabbed it up, measured it, and it was almost perfect. We just had to trim back the sides a little bit and get the handles off. And it was great on there. Saved us a bunch of time.
Now, I understand you took credit for the Slurpee lid, right? So you came up with that, or at least you were the inspiration for the Slurpee lid, right?
Yeah. I just gave my dad my Slurpee cup lid because I wanted to actually eat the Slurpee. And he said, hey, this would make a great back of the Dalek eye. So I put it on, and it was just right.
So this is a bit of a collaborative project for you guys, your dad, and then, of course, everybody here. Dalek's got to have a voice, and I understand you're the one that does that. What goes into doing that?
Actually, the voice is pretty complicated. It isn't terribly easy to do. It hurts, definitely, when you're doing it for a long period of time, like the Comic-Con. And then there's different ones that you can do, because you got, like, the deep Dalek Supreme voice, and then you got the just regular Dalek drone voice, which I do. That's great. Most of the time. It's basically just screeches.
So, give me a Dalek.
The exterminate. You gotta yell everything too. So,
of course, now you have a little help from a device, an electronic device, a little bit. Kind of changes your voice a little bit.
No.
Well, it's mostly a microphone actually,
It's a tinny microphone.
It is a tinny microphone, so it gives a little bit of a robotic tone to my voice. But we don't actually have it today, so I'm just screaming out there.
That's what I was told. But it probably helps amplify your voice as well a little bit, which I'm sure is... Now, I'm going to ask you real quick, How much are you involved in this, and how much time does it take away from other things that you want going on around the house?
We are all, like I say, we're all a part of it, and we all put our good share of time into it. It doesn't really take away. I was just happy to see them out of my way so I can get things done. I'm glad to see them out doing something rather than sitting around the house watching TV or playing video games.
That's exactly, because, I mean, that might be what a typical family is doing, but you guys have one big project that you can all get involved in, and so that's really kind of cool. Do you guys have any advice for anybody that's wanting to start from core up to build a Dalek themselves? Do you have any advice that you can give to them?
Well, of course, you don't have to do it all by yourself on there. Plenty of resources online. We've even set up a Facebook page for the Dalek. He's Red Dalek on Facebook, and you can actually see the build pictures in an album on the Facebook page and see what we went through. Each day we took at least one picture to show the progress we were making on the frame, and then eventually framing it out and getting it all put together at the end. It seemed like that first month we weren't getting very far, but it all worked out and it paid off great.
The hardest piece to get about this were the styrofoam balls. Because spray paint would just, melt the balls.
Yeah, the reason he's a red Dalek, a red and black Dalek, is because the gold paint was eating the foam and foam board. So he had a lot of rework after we tried to paint, and damaged a lot of things. So that's why he went red. We thought about going the kind of all black, and that's also for the 2005 deal. Doesn't photograph as well. This photographs really nicely.
Well, you all did a great job, and thank you very much for taking some time to talk to us, okay?
Very much. Thank you very much.
Great.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Horner. I'm the creator of the Timey Wimey Puppet Show, which is a Doctor Who themed, family-friendly Punch and Judy type puppet show on YouTube and live at conventions.
What got you started on this project? What brought you to Doctor Who puppets?
Well, I'm a full-time puppeteer. I work with a puppet theater here in Kansas City. And a friend of mine got me into Doctor Who, and he said, let's go to the Doctor Who convention, Gallifrey One. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a Doctor Who puppet show, to take it to the convention? And so I started I was going to do the first Dalek story with the first Doctor. And I was going to do it in condense it to 20 minutes. I started making the puppets, and I was like, this is too many puppets. Why don't I make first Doctor and the current Doctor, which at the time was 11. So I made those two and didn't get anything else finished. And went to Gallifrey One and just walked around with the puppets and started making some YouTube videos. And so putting those on YouTube. And then a friend of mine runs puppetry programming at DragonCon. And he said, hey, Mike, love the videos. Can you do a live show? I said, okay, sure. So I put together a 40-minute live show and debuted it at DragonCon, and I performed it this year at Gallifrey One, and now Planet Comic-Con, and taking it to British Fest in Omaha in June.
I think I saw you last year at Gallifrey. Not this one, but the last year. But I just saw you walking around.
Yeah, that's all I did.
And then Sean, one of my co-hosts, saw you this year.
Oh, yes.
And he said, he's got a show now. He did a show now. And so I was ecstatic about that. How did the Gallifrey One come around other than you had just been there? And then this year, you're on the stage.
Basically, after DragonCon and had standing room only there, I said, okay, I've got something here. So I wrote to Sean Lyon, who runs Gallifrey One. I said, hey, I've got this family-friendly puppet show, and it'd be a great thing for families and all ages at Gallifrey One, because otherwise, I saw there's lots of families there, people with kids, but there's nothing really for kids. They can sit in on a panel with someone who played a Cyberman in 1972 and maybe not know who that even is. Yeah, not even know what a Cyberman is. So, let alone the actor. So I proposed it that way, really saying, hey, it's something for the whole family can enjoy, and you can program it during the day. And he wrote back and said, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. And we did, and it was a big success. So,
what goes into putting your show together? Now, you've been doing it on YouTube, so you probably have some time to kind of stage shows, but how do you do an actual stage show? How do you put together the material?
Yeah, well, since I pulled some of the bits from the videos, and I thought, okay, which ones would work well, maybe on as a live show, and I also thought which things could be interactive, get some audience participation. Since I got this TARDIS puppet stage that I can walk around in, I don't know. I mean, as far as how to figure that out, I don't know. I just thought, okay, what might be funny. And I actually tested it premiered it for the Kansas City Time Lord Society for one of their meetings. About a month before Dragon Con, I said, I really need to test this out. And so I asked them, hey, can I come to the meeting and show you some stuff? And they said, sure. And so I did, and kind of learned what kind of worked and what kind of didn't. And that was the start, and yeah.
Clearly you're a fan of the show, because as a longtime fan myself, I watched today and was just amazed at the little things that you have to have been a fan of the show for a long time to pick up on, but there's also enough new to involve people that have just come to the show recently.
Well, yeah, and that's where that's kind of where I realized when I started off wanting to do a First Doctor episode as a puppet show, I also realized not enough people would be interested in that. Just that. So that's kind of why when I finished the First Doctor, I thought, okay, I got to make the current Doctor. And so I think, I definitely always wanted to keep it a combination of the new and the old. Because I've got some really obscure things in there. I mean, Chair with a Panda on it, which I was so tickled by when I heard it. And not too many, a few people know what that is. And even more obscure, maybe, is the song from the Last Chance Saloon, the Gunslingers Hartnell episode, which I thought, it's such an absurd song that they just pounded that into your head on that episode, or that story. And so I included it in the show, had a friend play it on piano for me. And it gets a couple chuckles for the people that know what the heck that it is.
I was chuckling. In fact, I loved that part of it. And when you had done the Panda in the Chair, it got such a warm reception. Everybody laughed at it. And I thought, okay, there's a lot of people that are going to get these little pieces. That one didn't seem to go off as well, but I think it's because it's a less familiar episode.
It's a less familiar episode, and it's not known as a good episode to have people watch. Even the actor who played the companion.
Peter Purvis?
Peter Purvis. I saw him at Gallifrey year before this past year. And he just talked about how awful it was to sing that song and how embarrassing it was. So, but I don't know. I like to latch onto those really weird, obscure things and just toss it in there, not make a big deal out of it. Just throw it in there, and it'll hit a few people.
I would assume that like a show like Gallifrey, where it's all Doctor Who fans, it's going to go off better than some place like Planet Comic Con, where you've got such a vast array of different fans.
It's interesting. When I did it at Dragon Con, comparing Dragon Con and then doing the same show at Gallifrey, some of the bits got a much better response at Dragon Con. And I'm not sure why. Maybe because there's 55,000 people that go to Dragon Con, so it's a lot of different fan bases coming together. And I had several people say they weren't really Doctor Who fans, didn't really know Doctor Who, but they came and watched my show at Dragon Con and said they really liked it. So I don't know what the difference there was. But yeah, it was interesting how some bits fell flat with the Doctor Who fans and the more general audience. I don't know.
Well, you've got the benefit of that song being very bouncy too.
When my friend recorded it and sent me the MP3, I just listened to it over and over and over. It was so much fun.
You obviously said you've been doing puppeteering for years, but what goes into making puppets, especially ones along the lines of Doctor Who?
Well, it always starts with a sketch. I mean, of course, there's all sorts of reference material out there, but my same friend that got me into Doctor Who, I drew a cartoon of all 11 Doctors when there were just 11. Colored it in Photoshop and put it together and printed it out and framed it and gave it to him. When I started to build the puppets, I started using that as kind of my template for the caricatures, or for the simplifying of the characters, because that's what you do with a puppet. It's caricature, so you take the essence of of the characters and the costumes and try to simplify it, because a puppet doesn't need a lot of detail. It just needs the basic things. I mean, Tom Baker, for example, you need the scarf, big smile with big teeth and a curly hair and a honker of a nose.
Jelly babies don't hurt either.
Jelly babies don't hurt. So, but yeah, it's sort of building a puppet. You start with distilling the essence of who the character is and just putting those elements in, not trying to put too much in. Like I went a little overboard on the silence. I sculpted all this detail and then realized, well, I could have just painted that. I didn't need to sculpt it because no one's going to know the difference that it's.
Well, I think that's it, and the silence comes across really well on the stage, and I like the fact that he's got the segmented mouth as well.
Well, I wanted to do the whole stretching, opening mouth thing too, but the pattern I kind of had going with the style of puppet was that they all had kind of hard heads. So I didn't want to suddenly do a fabric or a rubber head on him. So I just did, okay, I'll just do this silly flip top kind of head to get that effect.
Well, the show's great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think you had a great reception here at Planet Comic-Con. You touched on it a little bit, but again, tell me what's next for you.
Coming up next, I'll be performing the live show at British Fest in Omaha. And
that's in June, correct?
That's in June, at the end of June. And otherwise, I'm going to keep making videos on YouTube. Eventually, hopefully make all the Doctors. It'll take a while, but I'll get to it.
Do you have an address you want to put out that people can reach you on YouTube or see your material on YouTube?
YouTube.com/ I think Timey Wimey Puppet Show. Okay. If you search Timey Wimey Puppet Show on YouTube, you'll find
it'll come up. Very good. All right, well, very good. Awesome. Nice job, and thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Much.
All right, and again, thanks to the Collins family and Mike Horner for sharing some information with us and talking a little bit about what they do.
Definitely go check them out online.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at a con near you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's coming up next on the schedule.
Well, next week on the schedule for Friday Night Who, we have parts 4 through 6 of The Mutants, finishing up the John Pertwee story.
Which I should say, I plan to go out and buy the DVD because
so you're not on Hulu Plus.
Hulu Plus was not an enjoyable experience. I'm fine watching Doctor Who on Hulu Plus. I don't mind commercial breaks in it. It's quite all right. I'm absolutely fine with that because that's why they have content on Hulu Plus for me. However, when you're trying to do it with Friday Night, I ended up being like 4.5 to 5 minutes behind you guys and finished up after you guys were done because Caitlin and I were waiting for commercial breaks in. So they were quite annoying for Friday Night. So it's not good to do for that. So, but I did make it. I'm back.
Yay.
I came back for Friday Night Who, and I.
What did Caitlin think?
She's enjoyed it so far. Yeah, well, I don't want to tip our hand here, but I have never seen this entirety. I've seen clips, but I've never seen this in entirety. And I think we're all in that same boat.
Yeah, I've never seen this one at all.
Quite silent too on Twitter because a lot of people were.
Yeah.
But she watched and she didn't fall asleep. She's very attentive to it. And then when it got to the end of the third part, she goes, "Huh? Wait, what?" And I said, "Yeah, we got to wait till next week." And she goes, it really started getting good. So I think she's excited now to watch next week.
We commented it felt a little weird breaking there. I was ready to go on.
Still weird, no matter how many times we do this.
I loved that because now it feels like that true. Ooh, I got to wait for a full week to find out what happens on Doctor Who.
I'm not used to my Who that way.
Got to get that jazz back. So we'll be doing that for Friday Night Who on the 28th. Well, the 29th, whatever you want. And then our show next week is our reviews of The Mutants and ebook 3, The Spear of Destiny. So if you haven't started reading it, you've got a week. You might want to start. Not that it's that long, but it'll be our third Doctor celebration for the month of March, and we're kind of squeaking in at the end of the month with Planet Comic-Con.
Again, without tipping my hand, if you haven't read it, I think you'll be quite pleased.
Oh, good.
So if that's encouraging,
2 chapters in, I'm pleased with it.
If that spurs you on to get you started sooner or not drag your feet on it, finally a third Doctor that this batch of 50th anniversary things. Finally,
I will start reading it at work on my lunch breaks this week.
Good.
The following week, we will watch The War Machines with William Hartnell,
which was just added to Hulu Plus.
Well, fortunate for you.
Yeah.
Lucky.
No, unfortunate
No.
for me because I'm not going to do that on Friday Night Who. I won't do it that way.
Well, is that on Amazon Prime streaming? Do we know?
I don't know. You'd have to look that up.
I'm lucky now.
I buy all my DVDs. I can't deal
But
with.
you have a Prime account. Right?
I can't deal with streaming. I must own a physical copy of something.
Well, I'm just thinking ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So we'll do the War Machines for Friday Night Who on April 4th or the 5th, depending on how you want to look at it. And then our review that week will be the War Machines and Paul McGann, Big Finish number 80, Time Works. So we'll do those two together. You've apparently listened to that
I
one?
have not, but I'm ready for it.
You're just ready.
I'm ready for it. I'm excited. I'm still ever since I'm still jazzed, and I had intended to go a lot further along, but I started looking ahead and realizing that we're coming close to getting into where we shot off into the Eighth Doctor Adventures. So,
are we?
Yeah, we're a lot closer than I thought. We still got
We still have a ways to go.
It'll probably take us the best part of the year, maybe the full year.
Still knowing,
but just
it could be a year
just
away.
knowing that it's close.
Looking ahead, it's a lot closer than it seemed, half a year ago. So
when we started doing Big Finish.
And I still want to jump ahead, but then I think, no, I want to do it opposite the way you did. I want to go through McGann's line from beginning to end as I haven't done with anything else.
Although his own line takes place before the main line, doesn't it?
No,
the Eighth Doctor Adventures.
It's
now
actually
we'll
set kind
hit
of squarely
couple,
right in the middle.
Yeah, we'll hit a couple there too with Mary Shelley that'll actually take us way back.
Okay,
before
maybe those are the ones I was thinking
but
of.
We're listening to them linear as he did them.
Well, yeah, and as they were released.
Right.
And then the following week is our 4th Doctor celebration. We'll be doing Image of the Fendal with Tom Baker and Louise Jameson for Friday Night Who. And then reviewing Image of the Fendal and ebook number 4, The Roots of Evil.
Do you have Image?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I have it, so if we have to come to your place to watch, we can do that. If you don't have it, we have it. So.
Either way, one of us owns it.
Yes.
Okay. So there's that, and then I think I've got up on the website up through now. But then you might want to start thinking about picking up Torchwood Miracle Day if you haven't, because that'll be creeping in right after that.
Or peeking in on Netflix as it is
or peeking in on Netflix as it is shown up on Netflix.
Also Amazon Prime.
Prime. And then some really fun stuff, but I'm going to wait to get a little closer before we spring that on you.
Just in case.
You never know.
I keep waiting for that Easter announcement that we found more, so who knows? But
we still haven't got Web or Enemy on there, though, yet.
Web is actually going to be at the end of April.
Yeah.
I have it slated for that because that's when the DVD release comes out.
Right.
So.
That's right. Okay, good. Terrific.
Even though it'll be the plain Jane DVD release with no special features.
Vanilla release.
So what's up with that?
Well, I may not end up buying that since I have I have it already. So. All right. Well, I guess if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.